has like a very kaleidoscopy feel to it. Like it's got to be one of my favorite songs from them. There's an instrumental switch of sorts that happens like midway through the song, and it's so good. Like it's such a masterful transition,
straight from the heart type of stuff, right?
Yeah, which is fucking nuts. That's the most nuts thing I've ever heard of a band ever doing live. Period. Like a whole tour like that. Underrated. Absolutely. Check them out. The Contortionist, Geocentric Confusion. We've only done Exoplanet so far. These guys are one of my favorites. That whole album is phenomenal. I'd say this album as a whole isn't their best. It gets a little bit, like the whole album itself kind of, it has like a very kaleidoscopy feel to it. You can even like see like the album cover. It very much matches the theme of the album itself, which is why I love the Contortionist, by the way. Like they are really good at having like a theme to their albums, which is why I love, like I love Language because of the theme to the album, and same with, I just like albums that are like designed properly. You know what I mean? Maybe that's
as a whole. Yeah,
you know, like maybe that's just like a 90s or like a millennial thing, but like I like albums that have a purpose, like from the start to the finish of the whole thing. Rather than just have like, and it's fine to have individual songs that like are cool, and then they're just kind of thrown into the album together. But like, it's cooler, I think, if like you can make a whole album kind of have a theme or like a point to it. And
yeah, I think metal works better like that. Metal works better like that, especially if you're gonna go on tour and play a lot off that album. It has to kind of go together.
Well, so I mean, if we look at the themes with Exoplanet, it's obviously going into space. Geocentric Confusion. I think there's again some sort of, there's some good breakup tunes in this. I don't know if Geocentric Confusion it essentially stands for the loss of where your center is, I guess, essentially. This whole album is just interesting. It's sort of like, I don't know what the inspiration for it was necessarily, and I don't know if it's entirely cohesive, like as a whole album usually is, but there is definitely a tonal theme to all of the songs in this album. Causality is one of my favorites. Feedback Loop is another one of my favorites off of this album. Geocentric Confusion, though, I think it's in my top 3 favorite songs of theirs. Like it's got to be one of my favorite songs from them. Again, it's that theme for us where it's, you know, you got the ebbs and flows of the songs. Like we kind of do this a lot, but that's just the way it is, right? The way we like it, obviously. Where you kind of, I actually like the first half, like again, a lot. And it's one of those same scenario as with Another Nail for Your Coffin. You know, I think it was the last half of this song that really like caught me the first couple times I listened to it, and I wanted to listen to it again. But over time, you listen to it, and like the initial parts of the song kind of grow on me. Super heavy in the beginning. This whole album's great. This is
what gets you hooked. It's one of those songs where I guess what gets you hooked on it originally is now we end up loving it for. Mm-hmm. That original thing that hooked you brought you back to listen over and over and get hooked on the heavier.
There's an instrumental part like in the transition between the two sides of this song. It's like phenomenal. Like there's an instrumental switch of sorts that happens like midway through the song, and it's so good. Like it's such a masterful transition, and it's so catchy. Like it catches you. Super like moving of a song. And then too is Contortionist live. Like we're just gonna do a live version here. They're awesome to watch. Like they improvise stuff all the time. I'll talk more about that, like Contortionist live as a band, because they're just phenomenal. Like these guys are such professionals. Michael Lester's obviously one of the best in the business. Like he's so fun to watch. He's been fucking solid for them. One of my favorites from them, Geocentric Confusion by the Contortionist. Underrated, absolutely. Check them out.
To proclaim certainty of the answers.
a big song for that lead singer, right? Like he's heavy into those lyrics, and like they really focus on the lyrics there, and you can see when he's singing it there, he's like all into it.
He's not the original singer for that song.
But just watching it for the first time for me, it just seems like the focus of that song was these lyrics, and like
so Michael Lessard isn't the original singer from the Exoplanet album or Intrinsic. So when Michael Lessard joined the Contortionist, they came out with the Clairvoyant album, which is where you can see like the split of the Contortionist as a band. Like you can very much see the difference of them as a band from when before Michael Lessard showed up, and then after Michael Lessard. So it's interesting because like I love both Contortionists, right? Like the Contortionist kind of has the same situation as like with Velamaya, for example. Like again, there's a very different. I think there's a big difference between the Velamaya that you know before Matriarch versus the Velamaya that you know after Matriarch, right? Like the difference being obviously Lucas, right? And the same sort of like it's not like it was bad. In fact, again, I would say like I love the Exoplanet album. I love the Intrinsic album. Like again, Jonathan Carpenter, like their original singer before Michael Lessard, was phenomenal. He's you can hear the difference in the actual studio version as well. Like if I play that was just a live version with Michael Lessard doing the lyrics there. He's better clean wise, I would say, than Jake Carpenter's, which is why I think they went more clean, like towards more clean vocals. Like once Michael Lessard joined the band, type of thing. The other thing too is that again, Michael Lessard doesn't hit the deeper growls. That same sort of problem, right? Whereas like like asking Michael Lessard to do Geocentric Confusion is like asking Lucas to do something from Common Man's Collapse or something. It's just like it's a deeper tone than that typically. But to that point though, like that's still like really good. Like that wasn't quite the original. Like I would say like still check out the original Geocentric Confusion. It's obviously it's really similar, say the same thing, but like again, there's a clear difference. But at the same time, the Contortionist is such a good band that I feel like whenever they do stuff live, they just do what works. They don't do exactly the song that you're maybe necessarily going to hear.
Okay, so now I'm piecing this together. So obviously Michael Lessard wasn't the original for the song, but
right.
he's playing it live, and to me, my first time seeing it, he's clearly sold it for this song, and the whole band has sold it. Is that the purpose of this song seems to be the lyrics. I mean, every time he talks in the song, it's just him and the bass.
Well, especially at the end there, obviously, like the last half is just that crazy tapping riff that they're doing. Dun, 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 dun.
That was when he stopped, yeah.
The transition, like you know the moment like in the middle there where it transitions from I think it goes into like the please do not miscalculate my tone, and that sort of like when it goes into that tapping riff, that transition is just like it's a beautiful spot to it.
I guess I'm also trying to give him credit. So it's like now that I realize it wasn't his original song,
yeah.
An original song like that, you imagine like whoever guy was who wrote this, like straight from the heart type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to try and sing it, not being one who wrote it, and sell it. It's almost like it's kind of a weird feeling, right? You know what I mean? It's kind of like reading someone's like diary and singing it out loud. It's kind of weird, right? But he nailed it for me. Like it looked natural to me there.
Yeah. So I would say it actually is somewhat of an improvement, I think, in the last half with Michael Lessard. And I mean, the instruments are beautiful too. I still like the album version, like obviously in terms of the sound quality and like just the transition is just so like that song is beautiful on the album. Like it's just got such a beautiful transition to it. This part.
Calculate my tone. I speak with humility.
I don't know what that is. Like that, the piano and the xylophone, like the synth that they got in the background is fucking awesome. Nasty. Oh, that transition is just filthy. I was like playing with your ears, you know what I mean? Like that's I fucking love that.
This is classic Contortionist, right? I mean, just quickly, I guess, before we move on, like Contortionist, I don't know if you mentioned it last time we did them, but like we did ignore them for a long period of time, I think, because we'd only ever seen them live and we didn't really listen to them. Why?
They also weren't that big at the time, but we did see them live with they opened for Velamaya in 2013. And they had the original singer with them when we saw them.
But we didn't know
who they were.
We didn't leave that concert. We probably said it's like, oh, these guys are sick. but we didn't leave that concert like listening to them, you know.
The other thing though is too is that they had a short set, and I only think we saw like the last half of it. We didn't see all of it, and they hadn't figured themselves out yet. They were still really early for them.
Sure.
So, and then to that point too, like, you know, we were also just knee deep in Velemaya that day, anyways. I'm pretty sure like they were one of the, I think they were one of the first opening bands for Velemaya for that tour that I remember back then.
They're also a lot to figure out. I mean,
yes, they are.
Know.
Yeah, I think I've said this before. When I originally did catch my radar when they were playing with Animals as Leaders, and I walked out of that concert with their stuff in my head. They were just at the start of their Clairvoyant album at that point, so they were starting to do some of their Clairvoyant stuff there, and then I backed way through their stuff and just like. I was actually more into Language more first than anything, and then I went into EXO and found out it was amazing, and then I went into again the Intrinsic album. I've been through this album enough at this point.
They're the best find. So like our original bands, you know, obviously like Lamb of God, Fail, Born of Osiris, whatever. I think Contortionist, like along the way in the last like whatever 15 years, they're our best find.
They're also one of these bands where they have a bit of a split where I think some people hate their new stuff that like want their old stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like there is a clear difference. If you're someone who wants like the really heavy, if you want that heaviness, like that you're expecting from like, you know, Exoplanet, stuff like that, they don't have it as much anymore, right? Like they're much more of a progressive band. They're much more on the softer side of things as their albums have progressed. There's still metal involved in them, but
hey man, we battled through Welcome to the Jungle. Okay, so you know we've been there.
This is true. But yeah, no, they're an amazing band. Now live too. Okay, it's got to be said. If you've never seen the Contortionist, again, my two favorite albums by them, and I think both of them are in contention for the best albums of all time. Definitely Languages. I think Language. We'll have to watch that.
Yeah, you always say that. Yeah,
from front to back. Do that one. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, in my personal opinion, I think Language is the best written album front to back, at least out of progressive metal. But like for me, at least all time, like it's such an amazing album. If you put it in the right place at the right time, that album is just like unbelievable. And then obviously Exoplanet's ridiculous. But Clairvoyant's fantastic too, and that's like them getting newer and newer. They had a bit of a bonus album where they did a cover as well. Like they covered Smashing Pumpkins, and that's really good too. All the stuff that they've been doing since has been phenomenal. They were making new music like a year or two ago, and I went to see them in concert because they did a tour where they which again, this can't be stressed like how fucking awesome this is. They did front to back. They did a whole tour where they did front to back all of Language and all of Exoplanet, which is fucking nuts. That's the most nuts thing I've ever heard of a band ever doing live, period. Like a whole tour like that.
That's a fucking lot of that, yeah.
That's a lot of songs, a lot of music, but that's like Velemaya playing all of the Common Man's Collapse and all of ID.
Yeah.
Or like, you know what I mean? Or like all of Common Man's Collapse and all of False Idol. Like that's like Lamb of God playing all of Ashes of the Wake and all of
Sacrament.
Yeah, like just like their best albums, like two of their best fucking albums back to back is nuts. It's fucking nuts. They fucking did it. And I had no choice. I had to go down to see them do it. Like I was not gonna fucking not see that. They fucking crushed it, man. But at the same time, they had come out with music. So I made sure to get like the pre-screening because they actually, if you bought like the early tickets for that tour, you got to go in early and then like, first of all, talk to the band, but then also they had two songs they were making. They were making an album during that whole tour apparently, or they're currently still making an album, I guess. But they had two songs that were already done, and we had to listen to them both while we were like after the Q&A type of thing. So it's like a free sneak preview to new Contortionist songs, and they were fucking legit. They haven't come out yet. I even got a fucking merch shirt for the album that's not even out yet. And it's been like 2 years. I
mean, like I said, they're a lot to figure out. They're a lot to get used to. They're a lot to, appreciate.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. It takes some time. Considering that, they do have a lot of content out there, which is...
The hype behind them is getting kind of crazy. And the other thing, too, is they're also one of these bands that a lot of other bands are starting to gravitate towards. Like, it's a musician's band, I feel like, in a lot of ways. Like, their keyboarders really awesome to watch. Their drummers really good.
Their talent's off the charts, obviously.
Yeah, like across the board, everyone in this band is just stellar. Like stellar talent. They're all nuts.
The only reason they're not bigger is because they take time to appreciate. That's it. I mean, that's, with all our music, it's just all it is.
We'll get around to more of them in the future for sure. I'd like to do language at some point front to back, and then again, if you're gonna look into this Intrinsic album, my personal favorites, obviously, again, Geocentric Confusion is amazing. Feedback Loop is another one that's amazing. Causalities.
We've proven it. Flourish works in public, by the way. Anyone out there who wants to play some metal in public, you can sometimes get away in the right context. You can play Flourish.
And, I mean, all that whole album is phenomenal, though. Too. Primal Directive's amazing.
That's my album. I'm only like, I haven't gone much outside of that with them. You know, I got the odd song here and there.
I'm
telling you, album wise, that's my album.
I think Language and Clairvoyant too are albums that will grow on you, but you also have to be in the mood for them.
I need to put the time in. Yeah.
Like I wouldn't go listen. I wouldn't go to the gym. I wouldn't go to the gym and listen to Clairvoyant. I would listen to Exoplanet. But on the drive home,
that's what I do. Yeah.
I would listen to Clairvoyant. Like if I was relaxing somewhere and I was doing something chill, and I had like just wanted to like drift and just enjoy like, you know, the scenery or something like that, just have a nice moment or something like that, put on Clairvoyant or put on Language. Those are those kind of albums. What those are good for. And then like, same thing, Language. Like in a party setting, you could play the whole album in the right setting. Like, if a bunch of people are chilling, hanging out, throw on Language.
Put it on like low volume. It's good.
Yeah, it's like good, nice, chill tunes, like really groovy, like get you going. It's still, again, it's kind of like a nice entry to metal, I would say, for some people. Like again, like if you want to show your girlfriend like the Contortionist, start with Language.
Is it fair to say like Contortionist is up there for like diverse, like for the bands that we listen to, they're up there for like the most diversity, right? They're probably like the most diverse band.
Definitely the most, in a sense, I guess, yes. Like genre wise,
they kind of just like,
they kind of cover all the spectrum.
I don't know how to say other than diverse. I kind of do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, Animals is like that too, but that's you go.
I mean, Animals, but the Animals doesn't get to a point where they're doing Exoplanet stuff.
They also don't have a singer. That's the other part of that, right?
That's what I'm saying. You're not getting Primal Directive out of.
Yeah, it's true. True, and then well, you get Vel Maya's kind of becoming one of those bands as well, though. I feel like where they have like Vel Maya's last album was like half of it's, you know, super heavy, but then like half of it's like super radio friendly at the same time, you know. And Era's kind of doing that same sort of thing too, actually.
Yeah, I guess these days at this point they're all diverse, but I feel like Contortionist is the most for me. I don't know. It feels like they're the most diverse.
Okay,
let's go to a more simple song. This one doesn't need that much explanation, really. I mean,
yeah. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Next up, we thought we'd take a look at Some All Shall Perish, fundamental metal. At least in my mind, that's what I think of All Shall Perish. These guys are great. And most of their stuff really kind of isn't that underrated, to be honest. But this one probably is. This pass will haunt us both. Worth checking out. It's coming up next. Stay tuned.